What if the most romantic movie of the year secretly hid one of Hollywood's darkest behind-the-scenes wars? What if the woman on screen, playing a character who finally chose herself, was fighting the exact same battle in real life, not in a fictional small town, but in the cold marble hallways of a New York federal courthouse? What if the man who directed her, who stood beside her at red carpets and premieres, was allegedly running a shadow operation to destroy her reputation? Quietly, methodically, with text messages and PR crisis teams and carefully planted headlines. And what if all of it, every secret, every allegation, every multi-million-dollar lawsuit, was about to explode into the open? That is exactly what happened. And right now, as you are watching this, the final chapters of one of Hollywood's most stunning legal battles are being written. Lawyers are speaking. Settlement documents are being released to the public. A federal judge has ordered one side to pay the other's legal fees. And the question everyone is asking is it really over? Or is this just the beginning of something even bigger? Before we go any further, if you have not already subscribed to this channel, please hit that subscribe button right now and tap the bell icon so you never miss a story like this one. We dig deeper, we go further, and we never stop until we find the truth. Now, let's get into it. To understand where we are today, you have to go back to the summer of 2024, when It Ends With Us hit theaters. On the surface, it was a blockbuster. The film grossed over $300 million globally, which by any measure is an extraordinary achievement for a drama. Blake Lively starred in it. Justin Baldoni directed it, and also appeared in it. It was adapted from Colleen Hoover's beloved novel about a woman escaping an abusive relationship, a story meant to inspire, to heal, to empower. But behind the camera, according to Lively, something deeply troubling was unfolding. Something that would eventually pull Taylor Swift, Sony Pictures executives, Ryan Reynolds, and a team of crisis communications operatives into one of the most public and painful legal disputes Hollywood has ever seen. In December 2024, Blake Lively took the first formal step. She filed a complaint with the California Civil Rights Department. In that complaint, she alleged that during the production of It Ends With Us, she experienced severe emotional distress. She alleged that Justin Baldoni and key stakeholders connected to the film sexually harassed her. And she alleged that Baldoni, along with his production company Wayfarer Studios, orchestrated a deliberate and coordinated smear campaign against her. A campaign designed to damage her public image, to silence her, and to make sure that if she ever spoke up, no one would believe her. These were not vague accusations. These were specific, documented, and according to Lively's legal team, backed by internal communications, text messages, and voice recordings that would later become central pieces of evidence in open court. Baldoni denied everything. His legal team pushed back hard and immediately. They argued that Lively's allegations were manufactured. They claimed that what Lively was calling harassment was nothing more than the normal friction of a high-pressure film production. And they did not stop at denial. Baldoni went on offense. On December 31st of 2024, New Year's Eve, he filed a lawsuit against the New York Times, claiming libel and false light invasion of privacy after the paper published an article based on Lively's California complaint. That same day, Lively formalized her complaint into a full civil lawsuit against Baldoni in New York federal court. Both sides drew their battle lines on the final day of the year. Then, just weeks into the new year, Baldoni escalated dramatically. He filed a civil lawsuit against not just Blake Lively, but also her husband Ryan Reynolds and the couple's publicist, Leslie Sloan. The claims in that lawsuit were striking: extortion, defamation, and allegations that Lively and Reynolds had effectively attempted to take over the production of It Ends With Us for their own benefit. Baldoni was essentially arguing that he was the real victim, that a powerful Hollywood couple had leveraged false accusations to seize creative control and then destroy his reputation when he resisted. The total value attached to that lawsuit? $400 million. It was, by any standard, an extraordinary escalation. The suits were consolidated into a single case in January 2025, and federal Judge Louis Lyman of the U.S. District Court in New York was now presiding over what had become one of the most closely watched Hollywood legal battles in recent memory. What happened next was a legal war fought on multiple fronts simultaneously. On one side, Lively's attorneys, Ezra Hudson and Michael Gottlieb, were building their case around sexual harassment, retaliation, and what they described as a weaponized public relations campaign. They alleged that Baldoni and the Wayfarer Studios team hired crisis communications professionals specifically to plant negative stories about Lively, to turn public opinion against her before she could speak out, and to bury her allegations under an avalanche of bad press. The legal filings described internal communications between Baldoni's team that, if accurate, painted a deeply troubling picture of calculated reputational warfare. On the other side, Baldoni's team, led by attorney Brian Friedman, was arguing that 10 of Lively's 13 claims were legally unsound, and that the entire case was an attempt by a powerful actress and her even more powerful husband to bully and silence a director who had done nothing wrong. The discovery phase of the case pulled in names and institutions that shocked the entertainment world. Internal emails from Sony Pictures executives were examined. Private text messages between A-list celebrities were unsealed. Taylor Swift, one of Lively's closest friends, was drawn into the periphery of the case. The federal judge ordered several filings to be made public, and when they were, they exposed the normally hidden machinery of Hollywood in an uncomfortable and deeply revealing way. People who had never expected their private communications to be read in open court suddenly found themselves part of the public record of a federal lawsuit. In February 2026, Lively and Baldoni appeared together in court for the first time since the legal battle began. It was a court-ordered settlement conference held at U.S. District Court in Manhattan, overseen by Magistrate Judge Sarah L. Cave. Lively arrived alone. Baldoni came with his wife, Emily, at his side. Ryan Reynolds was not present. The conference lasted approximately 6 hours, and when it was over, both sides walked out without a deal. Baldoni's attorney confirmed the talks were unsuccessful, though he acknowledged that there was always a chance of settlement. For the moment, however, both sides appeared to be heading toward trial. The trial was scheduled to begin on May 18, 2026. By this point, the financial stakes had grown almost incomprehensibly large. Lively was seeking over $160 million in damages. According to unsealed court filings, her legal team alleged she had suffered over $56 million in lost earnings, $71 million in lost business profits tied to her ventures, Betty Buzz, Betty Booze, and Blake Brown Beauty, and $34 million in reputational harm, based on an estimated 65 million negative impressions about her generated on social media. These figures were preliminary and subject to expert testimony, but taken together, her damages claim totaled approximately $550 million. A $500 million lawsuit over a romantic drama. The numbers were staggering. Then came the courtroom rulings that began to reshape the case. In April 2026, Judge Lyman issued a significant decision that cut significantly into Lively's case. He gutted 10 of her 13 causes of action, including the sexual harassment claims, the defamation claims, and the civil conspiracy claims. It was a major legal blow for Lively. However, the judge made clear that Lively would still be allowed to pursue certain claims of retaliation against Baldoni's public relations team, specifically related to the alleged harm done to her reputation through what her team described as a coordinated online attack. The case was narrowed, but it was not over. And then came May. Just weeks before the scheduled May 18th trial date, after everything, after the hundreds of millions of dollars in claims, after the unsealed documents, and the celebrity text messages, and the 6-hour mediation sessions, and the months of brutal public scrutiny, both sides reached a settlement. The trial that had captivated Hollywood, the media, and the general public simply did not happen. The curtain came down quietly, with a settlement agreement signed behind closed doors. The details of that settlement, once revealed, told an interesting story. According to the agreement, the settlement brought an end to all litigation between the parties. It barred any future claims related to the dispute. It included a joint public statement, but it left one critical issue unresolved: Lively's request for attorney's fees and damages under Section 47.1 of California law. That question was left for Judge Lyman to decide, and critics of the outcome immediately noted that Lively had received nothing, no cash payment, in exchange for dropping her 3 remaining claims. Baldoni's attorney, Brian Friedman, was vocal about what he saw as a clear outcome in his client's favor. He pointed out that 10 of Lively's 13 claims had been dismissed before the settlement even happened. He argued that the settlement itself demonstrated that the case against his client had always been overblown. But Lively's attorneys pushed back firmly. They declared victory on the basis of the retaliation claims that survived. They said the case demonstrated exactly why laws like Section 47.1 exist: to protect people who speak out about misconduct from being buried in retaliatory litigation by those with more power and more money. And then came the judge's ruling on attorney's fees. U.S. District Judge Louis Lyman issued a 47-page order that awarded Lively her attorney's fees. He ruled that she was entitled to recover her defense costs under the 2023 California law specifically designed to protect sexual abuse accusers from retaliatory defamation suits. This was the law, Section 47.1, that Baldoni's own lawsuit had triggered, because his defamation case against Lively had been dismissed, with the judge finding that Lively's allegations were protected under litigation privilege. Lively was now entitled to be compensated for what it cost her to defend against that dismissed lawsuit. However, Judge Lyman did not grant everything Lively's team had asked for. He denied her motion for triple damages and punitive damages, ruling that those remedies are not available under federal law. The exact dollar amount of the attorney's fees has not yet been determined, and that financial reckoning is still to come. This is where things stand right now, as of this week. Baldoni's attorney Brian Friedman appeared on the Megyn Kelly show and made a public statement that surprised many people watching closely. He announced that he was releasing the full settlement agreement to the public. He said the reason was simple: to provide clarity, to give the public finality, and to allow both sides to move forward. He spoke about his client Justin Baldoni with visible emotion. He talked about wanting to give Baldoni unmitigated time with his family, time where his mind could be elsewhere, time to rebuild his career and his peace. And then, in a moment that many observers found unexpectedly gracious, Friedman extended the same sentiment to Blake Lively. He said he wanted her to have the dignity to move on with her life as well. He said he imagined people were getting tired of all of it. And he added that with the benefit of hindsight, both sides had probably made choices they would not make again. The full settlement agreement, now public, confirmed what had already been reported. The litigation is over. Future claims are barred. A joint public statement was agreed upon. And the only remaining legal matter, the question of exactly how much money Baldoni and Wayfarer Studios owe Lively for attorney's fees, will be decided by the court, with both sides having already agreed in advance not to appeal whatever that ruling turns out to be. So what does all of this mean? What is the final verdict of one of Hollywood's longest, loudest, and most emotionally exhausting legal battles? It depends entirely on who you ask. If you ask Baldoni's camp, the outcome is a vindication. 10 of 13 claims dismissed. No cash payment to Lively in the settlement. A case that they believe was always more about power than truth, now finally closed. If you ask Lively's camp, the outcome is a victory. Perhaps not the sweeping financial win they originally sought, but a meaningful legal precedent. A federal judge affirmed that retaliatory defamation lawsuits can be fought and won. Attorneys' fees were awarded. The system worked, at least partially, the way it was supposed to. What is undeniable is the wreckage left behind. 2 careers significantly altered by this battle. A film that grossed over $300 million now permanently attached to a story of conflict, accusation, and legal warfare. A production company, Wayfarer Studios, under financial and reputational strain. Dozens of people, publicists, executives, celebrities, legal professionals, whose private communications were dragged into open court and into public headlines. And a conversation, now louder than ever in Hollywood, about what happens to women who speak out on set, about who holds the power, and about whether the legal system is truly equipped to protect those who raise their voices against the most powerful players in the entertainment industry. The attorney's fees amount is still to be determined. That number, when it is set by the court, will be the final financial punctuation mark on this story. And Baldoni retains the right to appeal that decision once it is rendered. So while the headlines may say it is over, there may yet be one more chapter. What is clear is that it ends with us. The film, the book, the phrase, has taken on a meaning far beyond what Colleen Hoover ever intended when she wrote it. For 2 people who once stood together at a premiere and smiled for cameras, the phrase now describes something far more complicated. A lawsuit, a settlement, a federal ruling, a public battle fought in text messages and courtrooms and late-night TV appearances, and finally, hopefully, a silence. Thank you for watching all the way through this story. If this kind of deep-dive journalism is what you come here for, please make sure you have subscribed and hit that bell icon, because we are not done covering this, and you will not want to miss what comes next. Drop a comment below and let us know. Do you think justice was served in this case? Or did both sides walk away without the accountability this story deserved? We read every single comment. Stay with us.